Welcome to Podsdale, brought to you by the City of Scottsdale. Join us to explore the stories that make our city a world-class community. Hey everyone, welcome back to Podsdale. I'm Holly Peralta.
And I'm Jada McClendon. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Today, we're diving into a topic that hits close to home, literally. If you've ever spotted a coyote in your neighborhood, Javelina trotting through your yard, or wondered what to do when wildlife wanders a little too close, this episode is for you.
Yep, it's one of those only in Scottsdale moments. And today, we're talking all about it with Natural Resources Supervisor John Loleit. He's here to talk with us about wildlife management in an urban environment, how we can better protect our natural habitats, and what to do when wildlife shows up in unexpected places, like your backyard.
We'll also talk about monsoon prep, because clearing brush and securing trash isn't just good for storm safety, it's also a great way to keep wildlife safe and wild. It's all about finding that balance between people, nature, and the desert we call home. So let's get into it. Welcome to the show, John.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at the preserve and what you do there, how long you've been with the city.
I have been with the city of Scottsdale for 25 years now. And I first started when Pinnacle Peak was just a rock, and I opened up Pinnacle Peak Park. And I was there when Tom's Thumb Trailhead opened up. I moved up to Brown's Ranch Trailhead in 2013 when it opened up. And we also have Fraysfield Trailhead and Granite Mountain Trailhead that opened during that time. And then our last trailhead to be built in the preserve is the Pima Dynamite Trailhead, and that is where I'm currently at right now. So my job is wide-ranging. It can be anything from doing some trail maintenance, maybe repairing a fence, dealing with wildlife that we'll talk about today. I give guided hikes, guided tours of the area, do a lot of training with other volunteers and stewards that are out there and staff. So it is wide-ranging. I never know what's going to happen when I walk in the door that day.
At 25 years, too.
Yes.
You've probably seen everything. And it sounds like you've been around for some significant changes within the preserve.
Yes, I have. The preserve and the neighborhoods. When I first started at Pinnacle Peak Patio Restaurant was still going really well. So was Greasewood Flat. And now those are just little signs that are by the side of the road, and nobody knows what type of restaurants those were. So, yeah, I've seen the preserve itself grow by leaps and bounds as land was acquired and whatnot, and was on the ground floor with many of those trails going in that northern part of the preserve. So we were taking literally raw desert and trying to figure out, where do people want to go? Where would they want to ride their bike or hike or take their horse? And we would have to literally walk cross country looking for things that we want people to see, but at the same time being able to develop a trail that is not going to create a lot of maintenance. So it had to be almost a self-maintaining trail. So we were having to follow drainages, contours, soil types, even watching out if we're getting too close to wildlife habitat or saguaros. We had trail standards at how close we would get to a saguaro because we didn't want to impact the roots. So we had to look at a lot of different factors to put those trails in, that now a lot of people ride those trails or hike those trails and go, oh, it was great, it was beautiful, we loved it, not really knowing how much thought and energy went in to just laying out a trail.
And I would think that's success then, right? Because It almost seems like it was meant to be that way. People don't realize, like you said, the amount of work and thought that went into making the preserve what it is today.
Absolutely.
Let's jump into the wildlife and what you see there. I know there's just being out there myself several times, the type of wildlife and the birds you see. Can you share something about that?
Oh, yes. We see wildlife every day. But at the same time, it's interesting how a common statement that a lot of people will use when they come back from a hike is they'll say something like, I never saw anything out there. I might have heard a bird, but I didn't see a bunny. I didn't see a snake or a lizard or a deer or anything like that. Is there any wildlife out there? And when I tell them, oh my gosh, there is a lot of wildlife out there. You just have to be at the right place at the right time of day a lot of times. I always say that the wildlife is smarter than us, and they're not hiking at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in July. No, they're someplace much cooler, and that's how come you may not see anything. So we're getting into that time of the year where you've got to be out early in the morning when we first open up, very early, or later in the late afternoon, early evening, and that's when they'll start to come out again. So they're out there. There's a lot of them.
In general, why do we see so much wildlife in our preserves? What contributes to that?
Very good question. I think with the preserve, when you look at the map of the preserve and how it is getting developed around it, at some point in the future, it's going to be completely surrounded by development. And what that does is it kind of squeezes them into that open space that is the preserve. Luckily for us, we share a common boundary with McDowell Regional Park out of Fountain Hills. And that boundary that we share with them, and they have got a very large county park over there as well. We share about a 5-mile boundary with them. So that gives wildlife more access. And luckily, at the very northern part of the preserve, we share a 3-mile boundary with the Tonto National Forest. So the wildlife has a corridor that they can use to get up and around. And when we were doing our deer survey, when we collared them, we found that they know exactly where it goes, and they were able to use that access point. So the wildlife, they look for that stuff. They don't like the houses as much as we do.
So you mentioned deer. What else?
We have a very viable, very strong population of deer. Every year we work with Game and Fish, and we will fly with Game and Fish, and we will do wildlife surveys from the air. So we will be counting deer, javelina primarily. If we see something like a fox, a coyote, or even a mountain lion, if we're lucky, we'll log all that down. So it's not just, I hope they're doing okay. We're looking after them. So deer is a big part of it, but we also have, believe it or not, we've got badgers that live in the Sonoran Desert. And I always have this visual of badgers living in this nice wooded area of Michigan or Minnesota, but we've got them here. Badgers, fox, mountain lion, which we see frequently on our game cameras. All the years I've been out there, I have never seen a mountain lion, but our camera has, as they come to these drinking areas that they've got out there. So wide variety of reptiles, all sorts of snakes, lizards, birds. Oh, there's a lot of birds. And it's just a very fun place to do birding. But then we also look after, as funny as it sounds, we also look after and we do surveys for butterflies, for insects. We really want to know what's out there and what's the best practices that we have that we can protect all those species. So it's a challenge, but it's one that I think the wildlife appreciates. They don't know it yet, but I think they appreciate what we try to do for them out there.
It sounds like it. What can you tell us more about the watering areas and the cameras you have out there?
Yes. Many decades ago, Arizona Game and Fish throughout Arizona developed a number of water catchments. And they would put these water catchments in a wide range of areas and would rely on Mother Nature to fill them up. And simply, if I can give you a verbal picture of it, there is a large concrete apron or big open space that is concreted, built on a slight slope. The idea is that water hits that and drains into an underground tank, and at the other end of that tank is a trough. And if Mother Nature does its thing and fills that up, it's going to be a reliable source. So in the northern part of the preserve, which for me is north of Dynamite Boulevard and Rio Verde Boulevard, we've got 3 catchments that we've been working on over the years to maintain them, to fill in the cracks when the concrete is cracked and whatnot. We've patched the apron out there where the rain is going to hit so that when it does come, it will fill those things up. And at those water catchments, we will put in a game camera. And every couple of weeks or so, we'll go out and pull the card and just be amazed at what we see that comes in to drink. At 2 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, I didn't think they would be out at that time of day, but they know the water is there. And when Mother Nature doesn't do its part, then a couple of those water catchments are close enough that I can take my truck out there with a couple of 100 gallons of water in it, get the water in there, and then they know that it's there and they can rely on it. So those game cameras show us a lot of things that come in.
With so much wildlife that's out there, some residents might come across it in their own backyards. And in those moments, what should they do if they do see it in their backyard?
Well, I think for most people, they love to see the wildlife on their terms. If they're out there on the trail and they see it, depending on what it is, if it's a deer, oh boy. If it's a snake, oh no. And they start to really get worried about it. One of the things that Game and Fish will tell you to do, if you're in an urban area, you're in your backyard, and you see a bobcat not harming anything or a coyote wandering through your backyard, keep a can with you, a can that you can, with a removable lid or whatever, and put rocks in there and go out. And it sounds terrible, but you throw that can towards it, make the noise, startle it to get it out of there. Once that wildlife feels comfortable in your backyard and you maybe forget and the cat is out or your small pet, that could be something that they want, and all of a sudden you're upset, but that bobcat or that coyote got used to being in your backyard, laying by the pool, drinking water out of the bird fountain or whatever it is, and you never bothered me, and all of a sudden you're upset at me. So as much as we like to look at it, if you have that situation, don't let them feel like they're welcome there. Take the picture from the window and then go out and say, make noise, whatever it is, to get them out of there.
And what are some common mistakes people make when they see wild animals near their home? Do you think the biggest one is just, like you said, letting them be and letting them become more comfortable with being in the neighborhood?
I think so. People finding that, we see javelina come through here all the time and they've never been a problem, or people have shown me pictures of a mountain lion walking down their street. Oh, it's never been a problem. We see it, coming through. It's that one time that you're out with your dog on a leash for a walk, and all of a sudden what you thought was a friendly javelina is now angry and attacking you. And one thing about javelina is that they don't have very good eyesight. They've got very good smell. But when they see a dog, there's no difference in their mind from a collie and a coyote. It's a dog, and that tries to eat my babies, so I am going to go after you. So many times when somebody says, oh yeah, I was attacked by javelina in my neighborhood, the first thing I ask them is, were you walking your dog by any chance? Yeah, I was. Or sometimes they'll be going through the garbage and they've been startled by that homeowner. And hey, if you're nervous, you get scared, startled, you never know what's going to happen. So those encounters will happen. And right now, this time of year, it's the good old rattlesnakes. Mm-hmm. But snakes, since biblical times, have not been on the good list. And so people just see snake and instantly think it's out there to bite me and it's going to envenomate me. and I need to do something. But not all snakes are venomous. And there are people that are killing snakes that actually will attack and go after other venomous snakes, like rattlesnakes. Well, if you want to call them good snakes and bad snakes, you can. To me, they're all good. They all perform a duty out there. They're all living there for a certain reason. And if you see a snake in your yard that, oh my gosh, and I've been here so many years, I've never seen a snake. Oh, but they've probably been there, and they have never bothered you. So what's bringing them into the backyard in some cases? Do you have a bird feeder? Well, the birds are up there. The snake's not going to get them, but the seed drops. And there might be mice or other rodents that go where that seed has dropped, and they're in there eating. The snake knows that, and so now the snake is in your backyard going after those mice or other rodents that are there. But trying to convince people that leaving the snake alone, giving it time to do what it's going to do, to go across your driveway, go across your yard, what have you, it's very hard for people to do that. It's like, I need to do something now. So some people will capture them, and they'll say, well, I don't want to kill it. Good, but I'm going to relocate it. Okay, but how far are you going to relocate it? The example I use is if somebody took us and said, I'm going to relocate you. Okay, I'm here in Scottsdale, all right, and I am going to relocate you to Shanghai. We get in the middle of Shanghai just like that, and all of a sudden, we don't know the language, we don't know the streets, I don't know where to get water, where to get food, and snakes are the same way. They know their territory. They know it like the back of their hand, so to speak. And once you move them too far out of that range, they are a foreigner in a foreign land. And other snakes in that area are like, hey, what are you doing in my territory? What's going on here? And sometimes it brings about their own demise. So kind of the rule of thumb is if you're going to relocate a snake, as crazy as this sounds, sometimes just putting it on the other side of the fence or the wall is enough, and it is gone, and you may not ever see it again. Then the other things that you can do within your home or your backyard or whatever is just be aware. Where would you be if you were a snake? Would you be under that bush where it's nice and cool, where there has been some irrigation and the soil is cool? Just if you're cleaning, you're doing stuff, yard work, what have you, just be aware that they're going to be out there. So just be careful. And you can live with wildlife. There's just those precautions to take.
And the other thing that maybe many residents don't know is that if, for example, it's maybe a rattlesnake by your front door or something along those lines, the fire department
Correct.
will come out and help you with moving that snake.
Yes, they will.
I would think another common mistake would be, like you mentioned, birdseed, but leaving any kind of pet food outside.
Absolutely.
Not bagging and tying garbage. Those will attract animals.
Absolutely. It sure will. So that's a constant message that we're giving folks. And if need be, so many people have that Ring doorbell or something like that, and somebody will send out an alert, saw a coyote in the backyard or coming down the street or what have you. Well, if you've got a pet that you're taking out, which I do with my dog at home, and it's dark, it's night, and I will put my dog on a leash. And I'm going out there with the dog instead of just, oh yeah, go through the doggy door, come back in 5 minutes, we hope. So I'm out there with my dog, and I've never seen a coyote in my backyard. Maybe they've come through, but I've never seen them. So use some common sense. Are you going to let that dog go out there all by itself? And it doesn't matter how big your dog is. It can be a small dog or it can be a medium to large-sized dog. And a couple of coyotes, they can take care of that.
When it comes to protecting our natural habitats, what are some of the things that Scottsdale does to do that?
Well, that's a good question. What we do in the preserve is we try to educate folks just about the native plants that are out there. And in the preserve, we get not only local traffic, but during the wintertime, during the spring when there's spring baseball and golf and all those things that are going on, we get a lot of people coming up. They're taking our guided hikes, and we talk about the wildlife, but we also talk about the plants. Many people say, we've got a winter home here, or we're thinking about buying here, whatever. And I will, from the get-go, I will start encouraging them, then plant native plants. It reduces the amount of water. The native plants is what the local birds like, so you're going to get that added benefit, and you're using much less water. So much of Phoenix and the valley decades and decades ago were a lot of people moving from all over parts of the country that had the ability to have those beautiful lawns, those big trees and all of that. And let's do that here. Well, we're realizing today, now, you can't do that. It's just there's too many of us. There's too much water being used. So go native is what I say if you're going to move here.
And I know in Scottsdale, we've had the forethought to have, especially around the preserve, the environmentally sensitive land ordinance where
Yes.
you can't put that stuff there. And really, it's almost sometimes hard to distinguish where some neighborhoods end and the preserve begins because we've done
Right.
such a great job of doing that.
That's true. Very true. The city also, I may get this stat wrong, but the city for a long, long time every year wins an award from the National Arbor Society. I probably have that name wrong too, because the city very much encourages people plant trees. Here's the benefit of trees: the oxygen, the carbon dioxide exchange, things like that. The wildlife habitat, giving shade, reduces water, heat index, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Scottsdale is very, very active
Yes.
in that.
We're Tree City USA, I think
There
is
you
the
go.
term. And I know
that's what it was.
probably the longest standing city in Arizona, if I remember correctly.
There
but
you
yes,
go.
very, very important to us throughout the city.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. When you just said that where the urban interface kind of meets the preserve,
Mm-hmm.
the other issue that happens in that interface that people are starting to realize is that there's a potential for fire, which has never really been a part of the Sonoran Desert ecosystem. Over the centuries, a number of non-native species of grasses and other plants that have come in that have almost no predators, natural predators, let's say, animals that eat that grass or graze on it, what have you. And that grass sometimes is the catalyst that gets those fires going. And saguaros do not do well in fire. It's like you and I sticking our arm in a flame and having it burn. Our arm, it will still function if the burn isn't bad enough, but it's scarred, and it eventually will take its toll on those saguaros. So at that urban interface is where people are starting to realize we've got to do these various things with our landscape so that fire does not carry through it because of some spark that happened somewhere.
Just kind of switching gears a little bit, monsoon season is coming.
It is.
What kinds of yard prep do you recommend that's also, good for our natural habitat?
Oh, let's see. With the monsoons, we never know when they're going to hit or how quickly they're going to hit and how much they're going to produce. So one of the things that we start looking for is we worry about lightning. And there's many ways that you can try to figure out, when you see the flash and then you count 1001, 1002 and whatnot. For every 5 seconds, that's about a mile. Do you feel safe? I don't know. Lightning can strike in some crazy and in strange ways. And then the other thing to watch out for is that all of a sudden you will get that downpour, that rain that comes down so hard that you literally can't see in front of you. What we tell people, if you're out there hiking and one of those storms comes in, you want to get low. You don't want to be a lightning rod, so to speak. And if there's a drainage that you're worried about, maybe not so much in the preserve itself, but in other areas, flash flooding. We see it on our roads all the time. And I hear it every monsoon season that it only takes a couple of inches to move a vehicle. And people still don't realize that. So you put your foot into this, and all of a sudden it's taken you out. Just be careful. The power of water is an amazing thing, and it doesn't take much to knock you off your feet, so to speak.
Are there any wildlife safety concerns during monsoon that people might not think about, like animals being displaced by flooding or sheltering in unexpected places? Do we see, or do they kind of know what to do?
It's amazing what, they've lived out there all their lives, and they kind of know what to do. Some of the things that I have seen and have felt is in that monsoon season, I can be out there in the preserve. You can see the dark clouds and you're kind of watching them, which direction they're going and whatnot. You'll feel the breeze, and there's a couple of indicators that you'll look out for. Sometimes what it is that you'll be hiking and you've got this breeze. You can almost sometimes smell the rain, and all of a sudden it stops. When that breeze stops or that direction changes, you know that there's a change coming, and you just have to be aware of that. The other thing is you could be out there and all of a sudden, how come the birds aren't singing anymore? What's going on? They've already felt that barometric pressure. They've already felt it sometimes long before us, and they're finding a place to kind of get into a little protection. So there have been times that I have been out and you'd hear birds here and there chirping and whatnot, and then it just goes silent. Oh, I think that storm's about ready to dump on us. So look at what the wildlife is doing and just be aware of your surroundings.
Can you talk about some of the biggest challenges your team faces when it comes to balancing urban growth and wildlife conservation?
Oh, gosh, yes. It is the education. Educating people about the wildlife, and not to fear it, but to appreciate it and understand it. Probably the biggest misconception out there is obviously with rattlesnakes. People will tell me things about rattlesnakes. Oh, the rattlesnake will not strike. It has to be coiled. Really? Oh, does a rattlesnake know that? Oh, I read that in a book. Do you realize that the snakes, the deer, they have not read the books that we've written about them? So somebody can tell you everything that they know about a rattlesnake, and then all of a sudden that snake is doing the total opposite. So just educating people about rattlesnakes, because that's the one that always gets people really excited, and that, how valuable they really are to this environment and what good they do to this environment. I had a person the other day say, gosh, it seems like everybody in our neighborhood or people in our neighborhood, as soon as they see a snake, they want to kill it. How do I tell people that they don't need to do that? And I said, well, it's tough because they have a fear for that. I said, why are the snakes there? There must be something there that is drawing all those snakes in. Maybe it is that bird feeder or a water source that's bringing in other animals that the snake likes to eat. Is that something that you can reduce or get rid of, and maybe you won't see those snakes anymore? So trying to look at it in a logical sense like that is pretty tough for a lot of people. But Arizona Game and Fish, they put on courses. They've got videos on how to deal with rattlesnakes and what to do if you encounter rattlesnakes. very good to just be aware of that. And the humorous part of some of that is we've had snakes, because the temperature is right, we'll have snakes come right through the trailheads. And there can be people all over the place. And the snakes are just saying to themselves, this is my temperature. And it's 75, 85 degrees. We love to hike in that weather. It's perfect. And the snake is saying, yeah, it is perfect. And they'll come right through the trailhead. People are just, oh my gosh. And I don't know how many times I've had somebody with a camera, a cell phone, getting closer and closer and closer to that snake. And as they're trying to get that picture, telling me time and time again, oh, I hate snakes. I hate snakes. And they're just getting closer and closer to that snake. And I go, well, you need to step back.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So people have this truly a love-hate relationship with snakes, I think.
If someone wants to learn more or get involved in protecting natural spaces like our preserve here in Scottsdale, where would they start?
Oh, gosh. We have got a great organization that we have worked with for decades in the preserve, and that's the McDowell-Sonoran Conservancy. And they do a tremendous amount of training for their stewards. Their stewards do a lot of work for us, with us, from maintaining trails to helping with butterfly counts, bird counts, working with wildlife, all kinds of things. They have a well-oiled organization that will train people to become stewards. And once you've gone through the basic training, then it's up to that steward. If you want to get more and more and more involved in the plants, in the animals, there's more training that you can go through so that you can help monitor the tortoises. You can monitor the bats that we have in the preserve. So it's a great source of educational value that's out there. And you can take as much advantage or as little advantage of it as you like. So the McDowell-Sonoran Conservancy, that's, if they want to really get involved, that's the place to do it.
They're a great group, and their volunteers are wonderful.
Yes, they are.
I've been out on the trails.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, John, you've provided a lot of information for us to think about with this wildlife. And I liked your point that you made about these animals haven't read these books, right? They're wild for a reason.
That's right.
But we all got to live together.
We do.
And so I thank you for coming on the show today and providing some tips and things for us to think about, especially with the monsoon starting soon.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah, and more information for those who want to learn more about the preserve and get involved and volunteer. We have that for you too.
Great. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
That's all for this episode of Podsdale. If you enjoyed listening, be sure to subscribe. You can find us on YouTube or in your favorite podcast app. Share episode ideas and provide your feedback by emailing communications@scottsdaleaz.gov. Thanks for listening.